Kim Jacobs Show. Listen, we have a great show lined up for you. I'm your host, Kim Jacobs, better known as the Balance Doctor. And all of our guests that come on, they're either people that have overcome some tremendous odds in their own lives as they balance this thing called life, or they're experts and they're here to share tips and strategies that will help you better balance and manage your life. Grab your virtual seats and let's get ready for some real relevant and relatable content on today's episode of the Kim Jacobs Show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Kim Jacobs Show. I am thrilled to be with you all today. We are going to have a great discussion. So if you participated yesterday, then you already know we're in for a series that we're talking about the P's of parenting, the 8 P's of parenting to be specific. So I am your host, the Kim Jacobs Show, Kim Jacobs, and I am hoping that we are bringing balance to this world one household at a time. And I'm excited because I get an opportunity to come to you and to be a part of your family, your friends, your network of people that you've invited to be a part of this show. So thank you so much for tuning in each weekday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here to the Kim Jacobs Show. So today, as we get started, we're going to be again talking about parenting and some of the P's that I think are important when it comes to how we parent our children. Now, as you know about me, I'm actually a mother that now I have children ranging from 16 up to 26. That's a big deal to me. I don't personally think I look like I had no kid that's 26 years old, right? That came out of my body. That is huge. So, sometimes when other people don't celebrate, you celebrate yourself, because I'm like, good God Almighty, thank you, Jesus, that you would allow me to be able to be a mom of 5 children. And if you remember, I actually shared the story on yesterday's episode, which I'll make sure that I put the link in here for you all that may not have watched that, so you can go back and watch part 1. But I shared the fact that I was told that I wasn't going to be able to have children. So I did not think that I would be able to have children, according to what the physician has shared with me after I had emergency surgery to have an ovarian cyst removed. So sometimes we don't know each other's stories and why people are so fired up about whatever it is that they're celebrating in life or that they're grateful for in life. That's because we may not know their backstory. So for me, being a mother of 5 children that literally were able to come through my body after being told that that would not happen is huge. To me, that just shows that God is still in the miracle working business. Signs and wonders still follow those that believe in him, And even when we find ourselves in situations where we believe wholeheartedly that something's going to happen, and for whatever reason it doesn't happen, doesn't mean that God wasn't able to. It's just that he, for whatever reason, decided that that's not going to be the outcome for that particular situation. Because ultimately, we want his will to be done in our lives. Anybody agree with what I'm saying? Don't we want God's will to be done in our lives? And if so, put it in the comment section. I want only God's will to be done in my life. That's all I want. I don't want any more, any less. I just want your will, thy will, to be done in my life. All right. So today we're going to be talking about the 8 P's of parenting continued. So make sure that you all tag your friends and invite them to be a part of today's discussion. And let me make sure that, okay. So I'm excited because, as you know, if you've watched the show over the past, I always usually have a guest on, but some people have said, hey, Kim, can you come on and do some talking and teaching points, sometimes yourself as well? And so my audience has spoken and I am listening. Can you tell? I'm actually listening. That's the whole beautiful part of being able to get feedback and implement the feedback, not just hear what somebody's saying and then make no change. That defeats the whole purpose, right? So yesterday, what we talked about, and just in a recap, is that it's so important for us, and I need my glasses, right? That if we're not going to practice something ourselves, then we should not be willing to preach it to other people. So we can keep all of those sermons to ourselves if we're not officially going to practice what we preach. We tell our kids, we want you to do certain things, we want you to be compliant, and we want you to be obedient. We want you to listen to what we say and do what we say and all of those things. But at the end of the day, if we're not going to actually practice it ourselves, then we need to keep it to ourselves. So I'll put the actual link in the comment section for you. And then the other thing that we talked about yesterday too is the power of our words. We should not be in a situation where we are cussing our children out, or we're giving them the business and telling them a thing or two at their level, instead of focusing on attacking the child and attacking them for whatever we disagree with what they did. We should actually make a conscious decision that we are going to focus on the behavior, not focus on the child and belittling them and making them feel like they are less than, or that they don't amount to anything. You're not worth anything. I can't believe that you're reminding me of this person. Those are things that you don't want your children to ever hear you say. So you want your children to know that you love them, and regardless of this unfortunate behavior that they are exuding right now, you know that they're capable of so much more, because you see the God in them and you see the potential. Even if they're not acting the way that they should be acting at that moment, you know what they're capable of doing. So you want to recognize that the power of your words can leave permanent damage and scars on our children if we don't use them correctly. I read something recently and it said, hey, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can scar forever. And I do agree with that. There are some things, once you put it out in the atmosphere, it's virtually impossible for you to go back and take it back. So that's why we need to be so mindful of what we're saying to our children, because they're going to remember that for the rest of their lives. And if it's something that we said when they were younger, and then 20, 30 years later, they like, I remember when you said this to me, and that really hurt me. So hopefully you get a chance to resolve conflict and get it pull in the reins. But not all situations is that even the case, because sometimes your children don't even tell you. They just walk around and harbor it and hold on to it. And you don't even know that that one thing you said caused a lot of harm in their journey. So let's be mindful of our words. So we talked about those two P's yesterday: recognizing to practice what we preach. Don't be hypocritical and say one thing and then you personally, or me as a parent, we do something completely opposite of what we're telling our children we should be doing, because they're watching what we do, not what we say only. We know that. And then we talked about the power of words, which we talked about, and how important it is to monitor what we say to our children, even when we're having to discipline our children, because we do have to discipline them. But when we discipline them, we're focusing on the behavior, as I said, versus focusing on attacking the child. And I've seen some parents, they like cussing the children out, giving them the business. I'm like, I just don't think that we should be cussing our children at that level. I don't think that. But there are some things that our children do that will get Yanka. Woo! It'll yank something up out of your inner man, because you can't believe that they're doing that. But equally, there are things that we've done that will yank that up out of God. And God can't believe that we would dare do something like that and then say we so-called representing him. So the same grace and mercy we want shown to us as parents, as people of God, guess what? That's the same grace and mercy we want to show our own children that have been lent to us on this earth. Okay? All right. As you all put your comments in, I will do everything I can to, let's see. All right. Mackenzie, who's backstage again, very faithful in helping with the Kim Jacobs Show. Pop some of the comments up for me if you don't mind. All right. So today, everybody, for those that are tuning in, we're talking about wow, 5 kids. Yes, 5 shillings, as people say, 5 shillings. And I'll put, you look great. Girl, I cannot believe May 31st, I will be 54 years old. So I'm 53 years old, right? To me, I don't have any problem sharing my age. Maybe it's because right now the age that I am, but I am so grateful that God would allow me to see 53 years on this earth already and soon to be celebrating 54. Hey, okay. Great topic. Thank you so much, Dr. Tina J. Ramsey, founder of CTR Media Network. And you all make sure you all check out CTR Media Network. The Kim Jacobs Show streams there as well in 100 countries. So we're excited to be able to go global. All right. Let me put up my children. I showed everybody yesterday, but I'd like to show you all again today. That's my mom and dad in the middle there. And thanks to them coming together, I was able to I was conceived, obviously, and I'm very grateful for my mom and my dad. And I talked quite a bit about that yesterday. So make sure you all check out yesterday's episode. And then also, I'm excited because these are my children. I'm also a dog mom as well. So sometimes people be like, you have a whole rack of kids, and I do, and I'm excited about it. But then I'm also grateful that God would allow and trust me to be the mom of these children. So I don't take it for granted. I don't take it for granted, given that I was told I wouldn't have children. So that was yesterday. We talked about that. And let me put that over in the comments section for you all, how you can check out yesterday's episode while you're checking it out later today, after today's show, of course. Then make sure you also subscribe to the Kim Jacobs Show. Love to have you all subscribe to our YouTube channel. And then when we're live, you get the opportunity to get an alert if you turn your notifications on, and it will let you know when our show is live Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, y'all ready for the P's for today? Somebody put in the comment section, we ready, we're ready, we're ready. Let me see some comments over here. We're going to talk today about more of the P's to parenting. And yesterday, one of the studio audience members, Dayron, said, hey, Kim, you could call this segment Authentically Kim. And I was like, oh, that's really nice. That's really, really nice. Authentically Kim, he said. And then I know another one of our studio audience members suggested Ask Kim segment. And so I had been doing that many times over, just giving people the opportunity to ask some questions that plague them as parents and plague them as just trying to balance this thing called life, whether it's work, family, ministry, you name it, and all kinds of different aspects. So people constantly throw out questions and they send them to me, and then I come live and I answer them. So that's another thing that I've enjoyed doing quite a bit. All right. So anybody say they ready for some okay part? Yes. Okay, I see you. Dennis said that he is ready. All right. Who else said something? Virginia said, always sharing golden nuggets. It's a plum pleasing pleasure to be learning and leaning in today, as the legendary Les Brown would say. All right. All right. That's from Virginia Rutherford Hall, who has Wings of Wisdom show. So make sure you all check her out as well. Today, let's go with what we're talking about today. All right. Today, we're going to start with points of praise. And I want us to talk about the points of praise, which is the P, that is P number 3, points of praise. When we're talking about praise, we realize that our children are part of so many different things in life. If we're really true to being a parent, We understand that our children are involved in numerous activities. We don't always know exactly what their skill set's going to be, right? But we have to be very intentional about looking out for things that our children are capable of doing, and what is something that they enjoy doing. I put up this in particular image because we have children that like a wide variety of things. Some children will lean more to sports, so they will enjoy football or basketball or soccer, whatever sport it is that is intriguing to them. Then you have some that are musically inclined, and so they really lean into being interested in learning more about piano, the drums, the violin, flute, the clarinet, whatever it is, the bass guitar, you name it, they are intrigued by that. Then you have some that are interested in the arts. So they want to be theatrically inclined. They want to act and perform and be in film or movies. You have some that are interested in gardening. And you also have some that may be interested in like sketch art and different things of that nature. And I know my daughter is very interested in animation. So she enjoys drawing from scratch animations. But what we want to do is observe what our children are interested in doing. And you can pick up on those things when you see that they're always asking for a sketch pad. I have one son, he enjoys literally drawing. It's a way of stress relief for him. And I didn't even know he could draw. And I've been his mother his entire life. And until he became an adult, I had no idea that this man could draw at the level that he draws. And so watching our children and observing them and seeing what is of interest to them, don't squash those dreams and goals. Help explore them more and say, okay, so I see that you like, for example, my daughter Jayla, she likes drawing on her YouTube channel, animations and putting motion to the animals and to the characters that she draw from a blank screen. So guess what? We got her some software that would help her. She puts a glove on, she uses on a screen, and she's drawing from scratch these particular animations. That's brilliant. Then we have, like I said, Ivan, he loves exercising. That's one of his real passions, but he also loves drawing. And so buy some sketch pencils and some sketch pads. And growing up, he enjoyed playing basketball, having him being in the sport. Now, Jeremiah, on the other end, he played football. Oh, he played football for a short period of time and quickly realized that was not something he was going to be doing. He was like, oh gosh, no, come get me, come and get me. And so, guess what? He went more into the arts. He enjoys fishing. Jeremiah will get on a boat and go out on Lake Norman and fish on a blow up boat. I think that's pretty amazing. I'm not interested at all in going out on a blow up boat to do anything in that open body of water at that level. Not being on a cruise ship, me being the person out there steering and doing all, I'm like, what? So just because something is not of interest to us as parents does not mean that your children will not excel in that area of life. So we want to be open-minded to what they're interested in. Jeremiah was very interested in acting as well, and does a great job when he's applying for different roles. Now he's into doing some roofing work. And guess what? To climb on the top of a roof, he is so adventurous, y'all. For me, that is unbelievable. The level of adventure that God has put inside of him. He has no fear at all when it comes to doing all of these challenging things. But those are some of his gifts and his talents. And now Frankie, my oldest son, who just recently graduated from Chapel Hill, he is a brilliant like mastermind when it comes to building computers and knowing codes and all kinds of things. That he's an avid reader. So you name the book, he's read the book, especially if it's a book that can help him get to the next level of thinking and being an entrepreneur and a businessman. He just kicks that right in the head, right? So with Frankie, the thing that I'll tell you is back when he was younger, He really developed a passion for reading when he was a part of an accelerated reading program. And during that time, he was actually set to win the competition, but he had to get a specific book from the library. And it was the only book he needed to be able to win. Well, we were at the library in line trying to figure out, because we were going to ask the librarian, where is this book? It says the book is in the library, but we can't find it. So I was like, well, the book is somewhere here. We just need to find it, Frankie. We're in line waiting for the librarian because we're like next in line. And someone turns around and says, Frankie, are you looking for this? Okay, guess what? It was a young man named Pray Deep. And Pray Deep had the book that would win the accelerated reader contest. So that year, Pray Deep won. And Frankie was upset. He was upset. But guess what? He decided at that point to get like a Kindle. We got all kinds of stuff so he would never miss having that book that he needed to win again. And from that point on, he won almost every, I think it was every year, he ended up winning the accelerated reading contest. So we're all going to have some Pray Deeps in our lives, right? We're going to have a Pray Deep that has that last bit of information that we needed to win or to excel, but it only helps us get better and pushes us even further to our destiny, you know? So I was really excited about Frankie choosing to be an avid reader because that's made him a very strong leader as a result of what he chose to do at a very young age. And his parents, cultivated that because we would buy book upon books upon books upon books. And he would read them, not just sit them on the shelf to collect dust. He read them. And as a result of that, he is a mastermind. All right, Gabe, guess what Gabe had? He had a desire to play football. And I'm saying to the point where, I don't know where that picture is. Yeah, there it is. Okay. This boy slept with a football. That's Gabe right there. And many of you know that he lived to be 12 years old on this earth, and then now he's in heaven. He lives in heaven. But Gabe would play football and he would get a sparkle in his eyes, like the Blind Side guy with Michael Orr. I'm not exaggerating. He had fans at the age of 12, to the point where people were asking him to sign his autograph. He was 5'10", wearing a size 13 grown man's shoe at the age of 12. But not only was he huge in stature, guess what? He was also extremely compassionate. So Gabe was known as Guardian Gabe at his school because he served as the anti-bullying mediator. So he would help merge relationships and say, hey, why are you bullying this person? You can see they're so much smaller than you. Why are you choosing to be mean? And some people became friends as a result of Gabe being such a compassionate heart. Now, Gabe, when I talk about him many times from a parenting perspective, I always like to let everyone know that Gabe's Heart Foundation has been formed in honor of my son, Gabriel Michael Jacobs. And if you are ever interested in supporting a 501c3 organization, we raise funds to help get defibrillators placed in public spaces. So that way, if there's a sudden cardiac arrest event, guess what? Hopefully, by having these portable defibrillators, it gives the paramedics time to arrive on the scene and be able to perform some life-saving measures. So Gabe's heart is going to beat forever, 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 forever through Gabe's Heart Foundation. So you all make sure, if you're interested in supporting Gabe's heart and keeping other people's hearts beating, Gabe's heart, and I believe that can be the case, but ultimately only God can determine our time of death on this earth, not Gabe's heart or anybody else. But hopefully by having these portable defibrillators, people will have extended time to be able to have the chance to be saved, right? So anyway, $ Gabe's Heart, and you can go do paypal.me/Gabe's Heart Foundation, or even on Givelify, which is a great way to track your giving. You can go to Gabe's Heart Foundation on Givelify. And if you also believe that your organization qualifies for some type of defibrillator to be placed in your public space, whether it's a gymnasium, a school, a hospital, whatever it is, some people's churches, wherever it is, if you believe that your organization would be a great fit to be able to have a portable defibrillator, please share your story with us right at kim@gabesheartfoundation.org or julia@gabesheartfoundation.org. And you can send us your communication and we will definitely consider you. I say that because we're talking about the P's of parenting today. And all of my children did things that were very different than what I necessarily would have chosen growing up. But look at what it's resulted in. They're such wonderful individuals. Tell me in the comment section something that you're proud of regarding your children. If you have a child or children or your aunt, I'm sitting here tying this. That's funny. Because guess what? When you're balancing life, it's no way I'm going to go back and edit all that stuff out. This is real life stuff. My bow came loose. Guess what? I tied the bow. It doesn't have to be edited out. It's okay. You can tie your bow on live show. It's no big deal. So anyway, in the comments section, share something that you're really proud of regarding your own child or children, or maybe like you say, you're a parent figure to somebody else's child. You may not personally have your own children, but you know that you are parenting children in your ministry, children in your family. You are a parent, just in a different facet, right? So share some of the things that you're really proud of. And especially if you've adopted a child or you'd like to adopt a child in some capacity in your future, talk about your experiences, okay? And we'll pop them up. Any comments came in, Mackenzie, that I can pop up for a second? Let's see. Any comments? Oh, hello, beautiful lady. Hello, beautiful Angela. I'm so glad I got a chance to hug you at our last event. Dennis says validation. Validating our children is important. We should let them know just because we don't share the same type of interest in something that they're expressing interest in, letting them know that we validate the fact that God created them to be their own individual. And we're going to explore that a lot more. We're going to look into it and see how we can cultivate that and grow it in them. Let's see, who else? Anybody else? Okay. So another thing too is keeping in mind that when we observe our children doing something great, guess what? Let's make sure we take a moment to celebrate it and to praise and to recognize it. Anytime I see my child completing, like say a scholarship application or something, then that's huge. People don't always complete something that has certain deadlines. Sometimes people give up in the middle of it, or they're like too frustrated. So when your child is doing something that you recognize is an accomplishment of some sort, yeah, make sure you recognize and celebrate that child. Put that in the comments. Let's celebrate our children. Let's watch and catch them doing some great things, and let's recognize it and celebrate it. I know with my children, anytime I see them accomplishing, getting a good grade, and I'm only talking from personal experience, but I would reward my children and say, listen, that's huge. You had all A's. Do you know how hard it is to get all A's? I didn't get all A's when I was growing up at all. I didn't get all B's. So guess what? When my children are knocking it out the park and doing honor roll work, you better believe I'm going to celebrate it and let them know that, listen, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to a restaurant? Do you want to do a special activity? What are some ways that you can celebrate your children and recognize their accomplishments? Now, some of you as parents have young children. And so when you're dealing with your children that are really young and they say they, for example, accomplish a task that maybe that they put a puzzle together properly, or that they put some of the pegs in the right boxes. You know how they have the little pegs that fit, the star fits in the star, the square fits in the square peg, and so forth. When you see that your children are doing just some of the basic things that can be celebrated, take a moment and be like, you did it. I'm so proud of you. You did such a great job when we were in the store. You listened so well. I know that the Spirit of God is just beaming through you. You're letting your light shine. I saw how nice you were to the other person, and just finding little things to celebrate the child about. So you may say no to your child for something, and then they may not get upset. Well, guess what? You may come back later and say, you know what? I noticed that when we were in the store, you acted so honorably. You were just wonderful. When I told you you could not have something, you didn't get upset. You didn't throw a temper tantrum. And guess what mommy did for you? I went back in the store and I brought this particular thing for you just to say thank you for having a great behavior when I told you no. So you want to find ways to reward your children and to recognize them and speak life over our children. Our children are a gift. They're a gift from God to us. So we cannot take it for granted that God has entrusted these children to our care. And it doesn't matter if they're toddlers or if they are adults. They're still your children. And God believes that you're the person that He knows can help develop them and make them be hopefully the most productive citizens possible. So let's speak life over them. Let's call into existence some of the things that we declare and decree as things that we will see through our children. And some things we try to live our lives as parents, and we like, oh, you know what? I always wanted to be this, whatever this is, fill in your own blank. So we sometimes try to encourage our children to do that. Well, my kids will be like, you can do that show all you want. I'm not interested in being nobody's talk show host. Nobody's telling people how to bring balance and all of this stuff. We're all different individuals, and we all have our own set of gifts and talents that we are expected to use on this earth. So make sure we know that our children are also individuals and they have been given certain guidelines and certain parameters and certain gifts and talents that God has blessed them with as well. Another thing that that we did often in our home for many years is an individualized family plan. And I talk about that in my book, Extreme Balance Makeover. The individual family plan is so necessary because every child, especially if you have multiple children, every child is different. So you cannot clump them all together and say, okay, this is what everybody is. This is how everybody's going to march to this beat and do this. And that's what's expected. And that's the bottom line. They all have different gifts and different talents, but they also have certain things that they struggle with. And as a parent, you may actually observe some of those things. So you may see, okay, with this particular child in our family, I realize that he or she struggles with confidence. Every time they're put in a position to exude a certain level of confidence and come boldly before the throne of grace and do their thing right, they cower down. So in that particular child's case, then in our individualized family plan, which is something that I personally created. So that's why I put it in the book, Extreme Balance Makeover. If you don't have a copy of that book, all you got to do is go to kimjacobshow.com and get your copy of Extreme Balance Makeover. I'll autograph it and send it to you. All right. But what I was going to say is that we would do things like figure out how to put some creative scenarios together that would force that particular child to have to show up with a certain level of confidence. Because we would remind them, not by just saying, I don't know what you're so scared of. That's not going to help the child. That is not going to get the outcome that you want. Not at all. But in just saying, okay, here's a scenario. They don't even know that it's a scenario that's been put before them for that reason. But because it's a skill that you're helping to develop as their parent, then you know what things to put in front of them so that they can master that test. They can conquer that test. they can pass that test. And then now confidence is not so difficult for them. So look at your own children and identify what are some things that they struggle with personally. What are some things that you would like to say, oh, you know what? I really wish that they understood that they are beautifully, spiritually, flawlessly, gorgeously. I'm making up all kind of L words, ly words. I don't know if those are all real words. Okay. Okay. The point is that they are fearfully and wonderfully made. And I want my children to know that God is not just making me fearfully and wonderfully. He has no respect of person, so he can do the same thing for you. And putting our children in certain circumstances and situations that we know would bring out a specific skill set and strengthen that skill set for them is what I encourage all parents to do. And in each of you probably have in your mind's eye already, you're like, I can imagine that my child struggles with communication. So what I'm going to do is get a speech therapist, or I'm going to have my child, one if it's one of my children, for example, if I'm my five, then I'm not going to put the child in an embarrassing situation in front of everyone. But maybe when we're alone, I tell the child, hey, you want to practice with mom? You want to practice with dad? And let's just see how you flow with this. And guess what? Your children will trust you if they see that you have their best interest at heart. And there are many times that I have done some practice and things with my children, just being their practice board, because this is a safe space. Me as your mom, I'm a safe space for you. I'm your biggest cheerleader, your biggest advocate. So you can definitely feel confident and comfortable practicing on me. And not nobody else has to know it. Nobody else gets privy to that information. And so as a parent, when your children do trust you and you're speaking life over them, and you're doing things like creating that individualized family plan, and you're finding them doing great things to celebrate and to recognize and to reward them for those things, when they finally do open up to you and come to you, don't take it for granted. Don't downplay it. Don't share it with other family members. Keep it confidential, because now they've trusted you and they'll never come back and trust you again if you are not willing to keep what happened confidential. So I'm really encouraging you as a parent, keep the conversations confidential that you have with your children. I don't care what age they are. If they're taught young children or older adult children, and they're like, Mom, look, I just need to talk to you for a minute. Dad, I just need to talk to you for a minute. But I don't want the rest of the family to know about this. This is personal to me, but I'm struggling with it. And I really want to make sure you're aware of what's going on, because I really need some advice. And you may be the only counselor that your children will confide in. You may be the only Bible that your kids will read, okay? You may be the walking Bible in your household. So make sure that we recognize that this thing called parenting is a true honor. It's not something to be taken lightly. Let's see. This is very inspiring and insightful. Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Dennis, y'all make sure y'all share it with your friends and let them watch the replays as well. In Philippians 4:8, it says, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Think on these things that are lovely and pure and true. Let's think about the things that are uplifting and edifying regarding our children and how we can build them up. Where we can see, if we have, all of us can see that our children have their own things that they struggle with, their own demons that they're trying to overcome, and they're trying to figure out what's the best course of action. And they need our help. They need our help as parents, right? So whatever things we can find that we can call into existence, into our home, into our children's lives, praying over them. As I told you all, my grandmother, 96 years old, would put all of the pictures along the wall And at 5:30 a.m. before she passed, she would literally get up and pray over every single child, over every single grandchild, over every single great grandchild. And I think she even had some great grandchildren. So this woman had a rack of folk, right? Praying, praying, praying. And now it's time for you to pray over your family because sometimes that may be the only prayer that they receive. So anyway, I know I'm saying some good stuff to everybody here, but our children are unique individuals and they are their own being. They're not us. So we cannot force our children to be just like us. I'm very outgoing. I love people, right? I love people. I love talking to everybody. There's no stranger to me. I go out in the grocery store and I'm like, hey, how are you? I'm hugging the grocery store workers. I'm hugging people at the Chick-fil-A. They're like, Miss Jacobs is here. People know my name. I call if I'm at the Chinese restaurant, and they're like, oh, we know your voice. We know you. Yes, we know your order. Guess what? I know that I love God's people from all walks of life, from all nationalities, from all religious beliefs. It does not matter to me. I'm very outgoing. And I love all of you all. I love y'all. I love you. So guess what? It's not a burden for me to love people. I love it. It's not a burden for me to talk to people and get to know everybody. Now, my children, we are not we are not like each other in different regards. So they're like, I already spoke. I have some children be like, well, what you be saying to the people? I already took and told them hello. Now what else? I don't need to keep on talking to them. I already said hello. I already said, I hope you have a great day. Thank you and all of that. And they're not trying to be funny. That's just their personality. So they're their own unique individuals. We have to respect that. Okay. All right, questions? Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any thoughts on what I'm talking about so far? All right, listen, we've talked so far about quite a few things. Let me just make sure we go back. We talked about practicing what we preach, the power of our words. We also talked about finding things that are of interest to them so that they can ultimately live out their goals and dreams and they can pursue those things with passion. But they can't do that if they're young children without your involvement. So you got to be involved as a parent once you realize that that's something that is of interest to them, right? The other thing that I will tell you is that when we find out what's of interest to them, as a mom or as a dad, and you're trying to balance your own life too, so you're like, look here, I cannot be flying around doing all these extracurricular activities every single season without any break. In my household, I literally had to say, okay, we can pick here are your choices. Pick one or pick the other. But it's no way we're gonna be able to do all of this stuff and be every season constantly having to run around. And so that worked well in my household. So finding out which one is more interesting to you, acting or playing football, because both of these are requiring 3-4 hours most of the time, every a few days a week. So we can only dedicate so much time to this stuff, okay? And that's very and very important for you for that to happen. All right. All right. So let's go on to any questions, any comments. This is very insightful and inspiring. Any other comments come in? Thank you, Dennis. Any other comments? Mackenzie, pop them up for me if you can. Let me see. Any other comments come in? The individualized family plan is genius. We are our children's first teacher. That's correct. They are, many times you hear people say, our first ministry, our first responsibility. A lot of times, especially in ministry, we give a lot of ourselves, our time, our energy, and our effort to ministry and to people that we've been assigned to oversee in different leadership roles. And I can tell you that you have to also make sure that you give that time to your family. To me, it's not an either or situation, it's an and. And is a very important bridge word. So you can be effective in ministry and you can also be effective at being able to balance your family and your home life as well. And speaking of which, I think this is a great time for me to tell you all that there are a lot of mothers. You have goals and you have dreams, and you're looking for a community of people that share similar like-minded thoughts. Well, we have a Mother Dreamer movement, and it's a private community where you can get a chance to come in and pursue your goals and dreams and be effective mothers. And I would encourage you, if you haven't joined the Mother Dreamer movement yet, make sure you go to motherdreamer.com/join. Motherdreamer.com/join and become a part of the Mother Dreamer movement. And I can tell you that you will be encouraged by some of the other mothers that are out there, and they will support different events and activities that you have going on, and also give you feedback on some of the things that I don't like that idea. I think you could tweak this or do that. But it's a group that can help hold you accountable. So the mission of the Mother Dreamer movement is to help mothers realize their dreams while still being amazing mothers. We also help women gain back their dreams and improve the quality of their lives, and even start their own businesses if they haven't already chosen a business of interest. And we do this by providing content from thriving mother dreamers. So a lot of times we'll have our own community right in the house, right there in the Mother Dreamer movement. They'll come on and share their expertise, personal coaching, and holding each other accountable. Now, every time we help a mother live her dream to the fullest and help her achieve complete freedom, we have succeeded as a Mother Dreamer movement. So I want you all to go and join the Mother Dreamer movement. We'll put it in the comment section for you as well. And we look forward to seeing you over in that community. All right, let's see. I see another comment from Randall. Let's put that comment up. Let's see. Randall says, sounds like a grandmother who had a relationship with God. The same God that works for your grandmother will work for you and for our children. Rest, grandmother. You did your work. Yes, yes. And I know that not only my grandmother, many of you have grandmothers and matriarchs of your family and patriarchs of your family that did their work too. And so, same thing, rest well and be one of our cloud of witnesses and celebrate that your labor was not in vain. For all of those that know you had praying grandma, I say grandma because that's what it was for me, but you had a praying grandma, a praying granddaddy, put it in the comments section. I had a praying whatever, grandma, granddaddy, mama. You had a praying person that's dedicated to praying over your life and over your children and over the family members and the aunties and the uncles and all of the people, the nieces and nephews, praying over the whole clan, everybody, the whole tribe of family members. Put it in the comment section if that applies to you and your family. And sometimes, again, not every family member has that situation. So you might be that person. Speaking of which, let's talk about passing the baton. That's the next P that I want to talk about. We are helping to build something that outlives us. How many of you know that when we share with our children the way that they should go, so that way when they're older, they don't depart from God's teaching, we're preparing them for something that is beyond us. Our children are our heritage from the Lord, an offspring, a reward from God. And that's in Psalms 127:3. Children are a heritage from the Lord, an offspring, a reward from Him. So we can't take that for granted, that what God has given us, He doesn't want us to just keep it to ourselves. He wants us to be able to pass that baton so that well beyond when we leave this earth, when we transition from this earth, our children understand the importance of being a person that helps build a legacy for their family, for their grandchildren. So it's a never ending cycle. Our desire, in my opinion, is to be able to, as a parent, let our children know that the best thing that we could ever do for their lives, the very best thing that we could ever give to them is the gift of salvation, the gift of God, to be able to say that when we leave here, the things that we left here matter because now it's something that can continue to go on. That's why I think it's so good to be able to write books and to be an author of a book and to be able to put some of your thoughts in those books. I'll put my some of the books up that are best-selling, international best-selling books that I've written a chapter in some of those books. Women of War, and that's Peace in the Midst of the Storm. And in that book over there where it says Women of War, Peace in the Midst of the Storm, I wrote a chapter about it's called the Messenger of Hope, right? And so, but the way that the Messenger of Hope came is very different than what you would think. So that book is a great read and filled with some incredible authors. The other book is Rise Up, Women Who Lead, Building Legacy. And as we're talking about passing that baton, that book has 33 authors in it. And in that book, they are all talking about how they build legacy, how they've risen up and how they have built legacy. And in that book, my children pay tribute to me as Rise Up, and they will call her blessed. My children are sharing their sentiments in that book, Rise Up, Women Who Lead, Building Legacy. This Is How I Fight My Battles is the other book. And now in that book, I talk about what lies beneath. There are some things that lie beneath the surface in a battlefield. And we don't always get to see that on social media. We don't always get to know what a person is dealing with and what they're struggling with. We don't always get to know that at all. So, what lies beneath is my chapter. And then Extreme Balance Makeover. In that book, I was the NBC expert teaching people about how to balance different aspects of their lives and would go out into the community and do balance makeovers. Well, guess what? I compiled all of those tips that I shared as their expert and formed a book called Extreme Balance Makeover. So you can go to kimjacobshow.com and get any of those books. All right. So we have talked today about several more points, but one was points of praise and the other one was passing the baton. Passing the baton. And the final one that I'll talk about today is prioritizing. How do we prioritize to be able to maximize this thing called life? And in life can be so hectic. We only have a certain amount of time, y'all, in a given day. All of us, you hear people say many times over, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. But the way that I like to divide that up is what percentage of time are you going to be able to devote to what specific area of your life? If you're going to devote 30% to ministry, 13% to extracurricular activities, 7% to nonprofit focus and volunteers, and whatever it is that you're doing, your children 40% because you have to do this and you have to do this and you have to make sure they're prepared for lunches and after school activities, parent teacher conferences, blah, 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 blah. Okay, it's so many things that we are responsible for. But again, we have to be able to prioritize. I'm a big believer that, listen, you're not gonna get so much done in a given day. So force rank things. Anybody understand what I'm saying out there? Force rank it. What must be done today? This, no matter what goes down, no matter before I go to bed, I have to get this done. Now, if that's the case, put that as a main priority. Put the next forced rank situation as another priority number 2, priority number 3, and 4 or 5, or whatever, however many priorities you're gonna get into that day. The rest of it, even if it's on that specific day and you have it listed in force rank, you might very well have to carry that over to the next day. And guess what? It's nothing wrong with you carrying something over to the next day because it just didn't cut the mustard, as people say. It wasn't as much of a priority as you thought it was on that day because guess what? We have designated amount of time and you knew what you had to get done. Now, when it comes to in my opinion, and this is what I believe, that I don't want my day to ever consist of anything that the Lord has not ordered my steps, that He has not given me direction and clarity of purpose and what He wants me to do throughout that day, representing Him. Now, I believe that no matter what hat I'm wearing, I'm representing Him because I'm constantly being an ambassador of Christ. I'm sold out for Him. I'm sold out for Christ. And nobody can make me doubt that. Nobody or nothing can make me doubt it. Neither height nor depth nor things in the past, things to come. Nothing is going to separate me from the love of Christ. Nothing. All right. Make note of that. Nothing separates me from the love of Christ. Dennis says that my family is a praying tribe. Praise God for you and your family praying. A family that prays together, we say many times people say stays together. And guess what? There are times that people do pray together and still some things happen and they're not together. So let's keep it real, real. Guess what? God is still the author, He's the finisher of our faith. And that anything is possible through Him. And we know that there are things that happen as human beings that are beyond our control. And guess what? When those things happen, you have to act accordingly. So I hear people talking. Sometimes you have parents, they plan on being together for life, and life happens and they're not together. Does not mean then that you can't be an effective parent for your children and put your personal feelings aside and focus on the best interest of that child. So if you've been in situations and it didn't work out the way you thought it was going to work out, still make it a priority. So we're talking about prioritizing, prioritize to maximize, right? Still make it a priority that the children be the focal point, not you and any bad thing that happened in your marriage or your past marriage, or even if you're currently married and you don't see eye to eye on everything. Guess what? Let the children be the focal point on some of those things. And obviously, parents, we all need to get our own counseling so we can deal with our own adult issues instead of trying to throw some of that weight off on the children. That's not fair. So make sure that we get the help that we need as parents, which we're leaders of our households, we're leaders of our children, and they're constantly watching us, constantly. So how are we prioritizing? When we say something's important, you saying God is important? Let me see. Is He? Is He really? How you rolling? How you living? How you rolling? How you rolling? Okay? Because the children are watching. All right. So another thing I really think is important when it comes to prioritizing, and I'm not going to reveal too much right now because I'm actually writing a book about it. So you'll see in the book my ultimate philosophy on this whole thing called prioritizing because God is so good and so faithful. And I'm thanking Him for the deposit that He's put in my mind and my heart and my spirit as I roll out some things about my philosophies that God put in my spirit. But what I will tell you in Luke 10, chapter 10, verses 38 through 42, Martha and Mary, that whole story there kind of sums up some things that we'll close out on today. Martha and Mary, they had Jesus and the disciples were passing through the village and came upon this home that they were going to fellowship and eat and enjoy some festivities with, which was Martha and Mary. Well, Martha was running around. She's like, oh my gosh, we got these surprise guests. Oh my goodness, we got to make sure we get things together, get our finest china, make sure we go out and get some good linen, go wash the linen, let me run to the market. She was running around like a chicken with her head cut off, just rocking and rolling, trying to get prepared for these emergency, unexpected guests that arrived. Well, Mary, on the other hand, Mary was like, I'm chilling. I'm sitting at the feet of Jesus and I'm going to learn from Him. I'm going to just, bring it all in and lean in on it and understand that this is what you're teaching and this is what you came here for. And I am going to soak it all in and learn. Well, Martha was like, you know what? Aren't you going to do something about this? Aren't you going to handle the fact that this chick will not prepare appropriately for you all? knowing that y'all are here and y'all gonna have needs, you gotta eat. You have to eat. You have to bathe. You have to have some toiletries, and you have to have some smell goods and some fragrances and nice lighting and stuff. All kind of stuff that we need when we have guests. The fridge needs some refilling. And Jesus was said to her, you know what? Mary, Mary chose the best thing to do in this situation. So I'm going to leave you all with this as parents, as people of God. Choose the right thing to do. Put your time and energy in the right area. If we're saying that we are serving God, then make sure that's a part of what we do every single day. Don't just say we're doing it and we don't make that be a priority in our lives. All right, everybody. That is today's episode. Any comments? Yes, I agree. My mom said focus on the children. Randall said that he had a praying grandmother. And Dennis said that his tribe, his family is a praying tribe. Listen, you guys, I am so excited that you all tuned in today to the Kim Jacobs Show. We're going to offer you all the opportunity that if any episode that you've ever watched on the Kim Jacobs Show has been a blessing to your household and has helped you, literally, I'm asking you, has it helped you and your family have some level of better balance just because you've tuned in and learned some of these tips and strategies, whether it be from me or from guests that I bring on? If that's the case and it's blessed you in some regard, I'd love for you to pour into our broadcast, pour into our ministry. And you can do that through Cash App, $Kimjacobsinc, or you can do it through paypal.me/KimJacobsInc. And you can also do it through Venmo, and that's at The Kim Jacobs Show. So I'm going to put this over here in the comments section for you. And thank you for all of those that do already contribute. Truly appreciate you all, and we'll be doing quite a few shout outs as well. But make sure you go ahead and pour into the broadcast. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Kim Jacobs Show. Thank you, Mackenzie, backstage, and thank you for everyone in the community. I love you all. Oh, Mom, my mom said, Kim, this has been a very good and informative show. I love you. Mommy, you're the best mom in the world. And I know everybody says that, but I cannot think of how God could have blessed me any better than having a mom like you. And I'm a whole grown-up 53-year-old saying that about my mama. Even at this point, you raised me well. Your labor was not in vain. I love you, Mommy. I love all of you all. And I'll see you again tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Kim Jacobs Show. Have a great one. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Kim Jacobs Show and for being in the virtual studio audience. Your presence truly does make a difference, and I look forward to you bringing your friends and family to join you in the virtual studio audience Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I look forward to seeing you and make it a great day.